Hi everybody, TJ Mack of Vintage Cards and Nostalgia here, and in today's video I'm going to go over my 10 favorite pickups from the past year, including a couple cards that I haven't shown before. One being the most I've probably spent on a card in the last 3 years, and it's of an iconic player from their sport. It's just a beautiful, colorful card that I think you're going to appreciate. But before I do that, I thought it would be fun with Christmas coming if we would recount the first toy that we remember receiving under the Christmas tree. Now for me, I was 4 or 5 years old, and it would have been about 1979 or 1980, and I got this Lone Ranger action figure that you can see here with his trusty horse Silver. And at the moment I got those two figures, I just became a big fan of the Lone Ranger. It got to be to the point where when that 1981, the campy movie that came out, The Legend of the Lone Ranger, it would be on HBO all the time. And I had this large cassette recorder with a microphone at the end of it. And I used to place the microphone against the TV speaker so I could record all the dialogue. And then what I would do at night as I'd fall asleep, I would play the recording and just listen to the movie. And it's just very fond memories of my childhood, and it is one of the reasons why I'm still a fan of Westerns to this day. So if you would share your favorites in the comments, I would appreciate it, and I would love to read those and comment back to you. Before we get into the top 10, I thought it would be good just to recap quickly what I had purchased over the past year. So I've acquired 107 items from my collection in 2024. 12 were magazines and 95 were cards. And of those 95 cards, 19 were baseball, 21 were hockey, 55 were football. The breakdown by decade is 6 were from the 1940s, 16 from the 1950s, 41 from the 1960s, 23 from the 1970s, and 9 from the 1980s. Most of them were PSA graded. I did get some SGC and a few BVG as well. PSA is my favorite of the 3 companies for grading. I do like SGC too though, and also BVG, so I will get those because I'm mainly buying cards that appeal to me. I just prefer them graded, but I'm not quite as fussy about what company is grading them. But if I had a choice, like I said, I would go with PSA first, but the other 2 are fine as well. So now let's go ahead and get into the top 10. Now, of these items that I'm going to show, none of them were gifts from anybody. I don't include those. These are only cards that I've purchased myself. Number 10 on the list is this 1948 Leaf rookie card of George McAfee. McAfee was a star player, halfback with the Chicago Bears during the 1940s, played on the championship teams under Papa Bear Halas, and I just love the Leaf cards, the comic artwork on them. And in this one in particular, what draws me in is you got this stylized image of him looking like he's kicking a ball. His arms are spread out and his leg high in the air. Just a beautiful image of a Hall of Fame player, and one that I was real happy to add to my collection. Number 9 on the list is this 1954 Bowman Robin Roberts card. Now, similar to the McAfee, what drew me into this card were the design elements. Now, not as vibrant, of course, as the McAfee is, but what I like here is the simple design of the 54 Bowman really allows this image of Roberts to stand out. You have the blue sky and the green grass, and then the pinstripe uniform of Roberts. It complements nicely the nameplate on the bottom with Roberts' autograph on it. And from 1950 to 1955, that period is regarded as one of the best periods for any pitcher in baseball history. And I remember reading in magazines around that time just how highly regarded Robin Roberts was, a dominating pitcher of that era. Now, what hurts him some is after that period from 1956 until he retired, He was a good pitcher, but he never again recaptured that magic of that period from 1950 to 1955. But as you study his career, if you look at that period, like I said, you're not going to find many pitchers better than he was during that time frame. So it's a great card to add to your collection. He's not very expensive, and it's just one that I'm very proud to own. Number 8 on the list is this Loren Gump Worsley card from 1960 Topps Hockey. It's the first 60 Topps Hockey card I've added to my collection, and I picked this one up about a month or so ago. Love the background on this card with the yellow squares, and then you got the name in red. It goes nicely with his blue sweater and the red pants on his goalie uniform. You can see there that Gump as well had a white blocker on the left there. It kind of blends into the border of the card. Now, Worsley was just one of the great characters of the game and somebody that I like to collect very much. I have several of his cards. I want to add more, and eventually I'm going to do another profile on him, showing off some of my cards that I have of him in my collection. Much like Art Donovan in football and Yogi Berra in baseball, just a fun character of the game. Now, Gump was also a fantastic goalie. He is the second to last goalie in NHL history not to wear a face mask. He never wore one for his entire career. He just preferred to play without it. And he didn't retire until 1974. So by then they had the curved blades in hockey, and he was taking some shots at them. And he was also in his early 40s. Just an incredible player from that time. Number 7 is this 1964 Topps American League Bombers card featuring Roger Maris, Norm Cash, Mickey Mantle, and Al Kaline. I got this card fittingly around Father's Day as really a tribute to my dad, who was a fan of both the Yankees and the Tigers. He was more a Yankees fan, but my grandfather took him to see the Tigers play one time, and he became a fan of Al Kaline as well. So what's really neat about this image is, in addition to the 4 great players, it's taken at Yankee Stadium. You can see the background there. And my imagination runs wild when I look at this photo, just to think about what they were talking about during the photo shoot, all that was going on in the park that day. And it just looks like a beautiful day for baseball, and a card that I just like to stare at from time to time, and just an awesome addition to any collection. Number 6 on the list is this 1971 Topps Vida Blue card. This is one I really should have owned a while ago. I just never got around to getting it, because I think it's one of the iconic cards for collectors from my generation. We grew up with that 1982 Kmart set that had all the MVPs on it, and for me it was one that I was just drawn into because it looked like he was given the peace sign, and he's got that beaming smile on his face, and he just got the blue sky in the background and the MLB logo right below the A there on his uniform. Just a lovely card, and one that takes me back to being a child and thumbing through those Kmart cards. And I was just, when I got this one, I couldn't stop staring at it for those reasons. This one is really, for me, a piece of nostalgia. Number 5 on the list is this 1962 Fleer rookie card of Bills lineman Billy Shaw. He is the only player inducted into the Football Hall of Fame that played exclusively in the AFL. And he's just somebody that I have a lot of admiration for. My friend Drew at the channel, The Drew of Vintage Legacy, was kind enough to get me Billy's autograph. He went to church with Billy Shaw, and I really got to learn the type of person he was, in addition to the great player he was on the field. So I was looking for this card for a long time, and I finally found one at a reasonable price. I bought it from a seller in Guam. It's the first and probably the only card I'll ever get in Guam, because I don't know how many collectors live in Guam. But was excited to add this one to my collection, and it just goes very well in my AFL display case. Number 4 is this 1965 Topps card of Hall of Fame Canadiens forward Jean Beliveau. And you can just look at this card and see that it's a hockey card with that line of pucks on the top. And then within each puck, there's a letter from the team name. And Beliveau was one of the best players of his time, a true winner. He won 9 Stanley Cups as a player, and just somebody that I just have a lot of admiration for. A very classy gentleman on and off the ice, and a highly skilled player. He was a very large man for his time, but he was very graceful the way he skated around. Not much of a fighter, but he wasn't a guy you would mess with. And he was just somebody that was the glue of those Canadian teams from that era, and just a player that I enjoy collecting. I'll probably never own his rookie card, but I'm very happy if I can get all of his cards besides his rookie card within my collection at some point. So just a card that definitely fits within my top 10 nicely. Number 3 on the list is this 1959 Parkhurst of Maurice the Rocket Richard. Of all the players in the 1950s in hockey, his cards are the most desired overall. This is only the second card of the Rocket in my collection, and it's also the most, as I mentioned in the beginning of my video, that I've spent on a single card in probably the past 3 years. And as I mentioned before in other videos, I've been selling some non-sports figurines and some starting lineups, and I use that money to save up for this card, which I really think is truly special, and just thrilled to add this to my collection. Now this marks the 7th card I have from the 1959 Parkhurst set, and it is the most valuable one. I paid $372 for this card. I don't mind sharing that with tax and shipping, and it's a fair price. I'm not one of these people that go on there and always say I got a great bargain. I paid a fair price for this card, and I think it presents very nicely. And SGC is graded 35 of this card, with only 6 in an SGC 5, and PSA is graded 410. But by comparison, there are over 11,000 1959 Topps Mickey Mantle cards graded by PSA, and I don't even know how many by SGC. So it's not a very common card, but not that really matters to me, because I like the cards that are widely collected, because those are the ones that I grew up with and the ones that I have the greatest connection to. But it's not a very common card by comparison to some of the other baseball issues that are out there. Now Maurice Richard, he's one of the most beloved and influential players in hockey history, and really among French Canadians, he just stands out as one of the greatest icons in Canada. And in the 1944-45 season, he became the first player to score an incredible 50 goals in just 50 games. And it wasn't until 1981 when Wayne Gretzky matched that record. And Richard also made history as the first player to reach 500 career goals, and just one of those legendary players that is a nice fit within any hockey collection. Number 2 on the list is this 1962 Topps hockey card of Chicago Blackhawks legend Bobby Hull, known for his feared slap shot. He's my favorite hockey player to collect, probably along with Bobby Orr. Hull, I just connect with him because, similar to Mickey Mantle, who's my favorite baseball player to collect, he just had a lot of charisma. Whenever he had the puck in his hand, he was very similar to what fans in baseball would see when Mantle was at the plate. You just never knew what was going to happen. Just a very exciting player, and I hope to own all of his cards from his playing days, aside from his rookie card. It's just too expensive, and I don't typically buy cards at that price that it would be going for. But if I can get his other cards from his playing days, I would be thrilled to eventually have all of them at some point. I think I need 5 or 6 more to get there. But I was thrilled to add this one to my collection this year, and just such a great player, and I love the blue border on this card. Not one you commonly see on cards from that time frame. And the number 1 card on my list for 2024 has not changed since my video that I did several months back recapping my mid-year pickups. It's this 1958 Topps CFL rookie of Cookie Gilchrist. And the reason why I wanted this card is that I'm a collector of AFL cards, and Gilchrist starred with the Buffalo Bills in the AFL in the 1960s. He was an incredible running back, very similar in many ways to Jim Brown, He was actually signed as a junior in high school to the Cleveland Browns. And when the NFL caught wind of it, he got blackballed from the league and ended up going to Canada. So when it was his time to go back to American professional football, he signed with the AFL Bills. And in his first season with the Bills, he won the MVP in 1962. Just a fantastic, powerful runner from his era. And I was so happy to finally find this card. I've been looking for it for a while, and just one that fits very nicely into my AFL collection. So there you have it. That's the top 10 for 2024. I hope you enjoyed. I want to wish you all Merry Christmas, and I look forward to the comments, and I will talk to you soon.